YouTube. I've had a few people who've said that they cannot join this evening, but they would like to be able to watch afterward. So I am taking just a second here to get that started. Okay, we are ready to go. Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. I am Lisa Berkachik, your district administrator. This is the second in a series of club leadership chats that we are having. Last week we had presidents on. We've got secretaries lined up for March, but that's not saying it just has to be those offices. So if you want to come back again in March, please do that or have other officers join. We just really hope this is a chance for us as Kiwanians across our district to share, get to know each other, and find out some things that are going on at the district level and international level. So hopefully you get some of those things out of it tonight. If you've got questions, we're going to have a question and answer session and also a sharing session a little bit later on. But first, I want to get to some information that we can pass out to you. And I'm going to ask everyone right now to, if you would please mute yourself. And that way we don't have background noise going on. Once we get into discussion, then obviously you can open that mute back up or use the chat. So let's start things off this evening. We have District Governor Kurt Rice with us this evening. Kurt, would you please share some information with us?
Well, I don't know that I have necessarily information. I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be with us tonight. Hopefully you'll be learning some things. We have some information that you'll find of value in your position as treasurers. That's about it. Hopefully we have some good discussion tonight.
Okay, thank you, Governor Kurt. Next, I would like to introduce to you one of our Kiwanis International trustees. Kathy Zizmansky is with us this evening. She's not only a trustee, but she is the counselor to our district. So she's kind of our go-to person for questions and liaison back and forth with that international board. So Kathy, thank you so much for joining us this evening, all the way from Pennsylvania.
Not all the way from Pennsylvania. I'm right here.
You're right
You're
here.
right there.
True.
You know,
Short commute.
it's a very short commute. Isn't this awesome? Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to be very quick. That way it leaves more time for all the information that's plugged into this amazing event that, you know, everybody has put together. I just have a couple of points, and for those of you who were on the other night, you've heard this, but I'm going to say it again. First of all, I'm hoping all of you have heard about the wonderful Amplify program that Kiwanis International is putting on, and there's been a bit of confusion with it. So again, I apologize if you've heard about this, but this isn't just Kiwanis. It's not just a Kiwanis leadership program. It's talking about everything that we can all use on a daily basis for business, our personal lives, and so forth. It is a program that typically could cost somebody $1,000, and Kiwanis has put all of this stuff together in a program that we can do virtually. And at the end of it, you can either do it at the convention or via Zoom. So you do not have to plan on going to Utah to finish the program. And if you guys do have more questions about that, I can answer them. I believe Lisa has a question and answer afterwards, or whenever I take a breath, or right now, if you have questions, just interrupt me because I tend to not take a breath. I just keep on talking. Second thing I'd like to bring up is the International Convention. We will know February 25th, hopefully, if it's going to be a hybrid or if it's going to be 100% virtual. Well, it's going to be hybrid. It has to be. We have all these countries that just are not going to know, and most likely we all realize they're not going to be able to travel over here. So we do know it's going to be hybrid. The one thing is we don't know if it's going to be 100% virtual or if it is going to be in person. Right now, we all strongly feel it's going to be a hybrid, but we don't know. The third thing is it is not too early, and you're going to hear this from other people too. It is not too early to start looking around for succession planning. I know a treasurer is a treasurer is a treasurer. I can tell you from with last week experience, when your club's treasurer dies, if you don't have a backup treasurer, you just need to have one. So please make sure that you have somebody trained to also be able to immediately help you out for your checking accounts, for everything. Make sure there's a backup, whether it's your president or whomever it is, but you always need to be prepared. Also, be looking for somebody who can be helping, whether you or step up. You know, as a treasurer, you got a pretty important job in the club. The treasurer is the treasurer for life. So be helping with succession planning, as well as, you don't know, there could be somebody in your club that you talk to that could become lieutenant governor. So those are the three highlighted things I really want to bring up, is always be looking for that leader. That could be somebody in your club, could be a lieutenant governor, which, by the way, that was the absolute best position. If none of you have ever been lieutenant governor and you wonder about it, absolutely best position Kiwanis International offers, to work with all the other clubs. The second thing was the convention, and then the third thing was the Kiwanis Amplify program. I'm taking a breath. Go ahead, ask your questions. Short and sweet, just like me.
Kathy, I do have a question. This is Linda.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have, I've had a couple people ask me, do you have to be a Kiwanian to take the Amplify?
At this point, yes.
Okay, all right.
That's because the price is $200. And, you know, it really is, the $200 is a really good deal. So you definitely have to be a Kiwanian to take the program. Yes.
Okay,
Maybe later on that could change and be a fundraiser for Kiwanis, but not right now.
Okay, thank you.
I'll ask a question too. At least in our area, the shots are starting to get out, the vaccines, and I think there's some light at the end of the tunnel that maybe we can start to meet in person. And just what's the guidelines that is coming down from international about meeting in person? I mean, we still want to be safe. We still need to sign waivers and all that. Is that part of the plan?
Jim, I can answer that. When I was on call with Art earlier today, and some of the other representatives at KI, currently what has been put out is all the information that is the current information. I did put that request to them to forward any changes, and they did not have anything at this point.
Okay.
So
just getting hopeful and want to be trying to gear up, I guess. So thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for Kathy for right now? And as she said, we'll have some time for additional questions later on too. So, okay. Kathy, anything else right now from you?
Nope, just thanks. And I'm here all night, folks.
Okay. Okay, I do want to introduce someone next, because if you have your chat open, you see he's got only a limited window with us this evening. Kiwanis International Central Area Director. Hey, I can say that all in one shot now. Brad Boyd is with us this evening, and I think he's got like 3 meetings going on right now at the same time. Brad,
When
thank
it
you
rains,
so
it
much for
pours.
stopping by. Brad,
Well, it's great to be with all of you, and I put you guys first. Don't tell the other two, but I wanted to at least be able to drop by because I will admit that I'm not a real numbers guy, but I admire, in fact, I treasure treasurers because I know that they really are the conduit to knowing most of the back history of their clubs and everything. And the one thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know how each of the clubs handles it, but I find that sometimes our treasurers can also serve as the club historian or archivist. And I don't know whether your clubs maybe have that. I see John Green on there and he probably wears all those hats. But what I would like to ask you as treasurers is quite often our clubs are apologetic. They'll tell me that they only give out 2 scholarships and they're only $500 each. And then I'll ask them, well, how many years have you been doing it? Oh, we've done it for 42 years. I said, oh, so you've been doing 84 scholarships. And how much does that amount to over time? So what I'd like to suggest is that you as treasurers sort of keep a cumulative total of what you do in terms of your manpower. Get with your club secretaries who submit those reports and tell us how many service hours your members are putting in, or the kids or the action clubbers that you're sponsoring, how many hours they're putting in. In fact, how many of those service leadership program participants have you done over the years and everything? The numbers, when you start to add them up, are just staggering. I came across the club that I've got in my PowerPoint presentation in Minnesota, and the North Suburban St. Paul Club, and they've given over $2 million to about 50 different nonprofit organizations. So we've got to quit being apologetic, and we need to start patting ourselves on the back, thumping ourselves on the chest, and singing from the rooftops all the wonderful things that your clubs are doing in the community. And I know that probably public relations isn't something that you signed up to do as a treasurer, but that really can add to your club if you can help to sort of keep a tally from year to year as to how many scholarships you're giving away, what the amount is, and how many hours you're doing, how many kids you've put through the service leadership programs or action clubbers you've done, and all those good things. So that's my message for you tonight. Thank you for your service. It really means a lot to us.
Thank you, Brad, so much for stopping by, and your words always supportive of our district, and we appreciate that. Okay, one more person I want to invite to say a few things before we get into some discussion and other things, and that is our governor-elect, Don Fritz. I think he's got a few things to share with us about Amplify and maybe some other things too. So Don, go ahead.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for being here. And a special thanks to Kathy and Brad from Kiwanis International. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here. You have a great deal of information for us. Kathy, you are a great lead into my comments. Amplify is a wonderful leadership program that's coming out of KI, and I'm happy to announce that Nebraska-Iowa District is providing 6 scholarships. We will pay 6 $200 registration fees. The registration is coming out in the newsletter, as well as it will be emailed to all of you very shortly. It's due March 15th, I believe it is, or something like that. Anyway, we're happy to provide 6 scholarships. And boy, I really encourage any of you who have emerging leaders, current leaders in your club that want to sharpen the saw of leadership a little bit. As Kathy mentioned, it is not specific to Kiwanis, but it certainly is applicable to Kiwanis. And we would hope that you would take advantage of that and take advantage of our scholarship offers. We really want to promote the club. Promote the training, and I hope that you all take advantage of it. Secondly, Kathy mentioned lieutenant governors, and as governor-elect, I'm just now beginning the process of recruiting lieutenant governors for the 21-22 year. And I have 2 already, which is a good start. We still have 23 more to go. But if any of you have club members that have served as a club president and are looking to increase their involvement in Kiwanis. I would certainly ask that you talk with them and or send me their name and contact information. I will contact them. We'll have a discussion. It is time to begin that process. We will have a training the first weekend of June for those new lieutenant governors. But and I would have to agree with Kathy. When I work through the chairs of all the governorships, I'm going to return as a lieutenant governor because I had a great deal of fun. And the second time around, I'm going to be a lot better than I was the first time. And so I want to encourage all of you to do that. And the third topic is an emerging activity that the district has been putting forth. And I want to give Lisa credit for initiating all of this, but these chats that we're having tonight with treasurers, these job-alike chats, the president one was fun and informative, and we've received some very positive feedback. I hope that tonight is fun and informative and a positive experience for you as well. We have secretaries coming up, but also I think in the hopper we have a chat for membership. And I'm going to be asking to be putting together a chat for some SLPs, specifically starting with Key Club. And so if you have an interest to talk to others across the Nebraska-Iowa district that have similar issues that you have, similar topics, and want to have a conversation, let us know. We'll put it together. Zoom is a wonderful tool that we need to take advantage of, and we've only begun to learn how to use it. And so we're going to continue to learn even more about it. Just encourage you to keep meeting, keep up the habit of service. Thanks for being here tonight. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Don. Okay, just a few other people I want to introduce that are on this evening. And as we have discussions, you might be hearing from them as well. We have a lieutenant governor with us. Pam Henderson is on this evening. We have Jim Dane, who is one of our regional trustees on this evening. And we also have Gary Muckle and Gary Lindgren, who are both regional trustees, and we'll be hearing from them in a minute. Given that we have 40 people on right now, we're probably not going to go around the Zoom table, so to speak, and introduce everyone, but I will get you after this meeting a list of participants that were on. And that way, if you want to connect with someone, I think pretty much everybody has their names on the bottom of their screen. But if you want to touch base with somebody afterward, connect with them, you've got their information. So look for that from me in the coming days. Right now, I would like to have Gary Lindgren and Gary Muckle come on and kind of talk about some things specific to what the treasurers should be doing, thinking about right now in their job. And Governor Kurt, you might have some information as well on 990s and those sort of things. So I'm going to turn it over to the three of you to kind of offer some what's new and what's due information.
Kurt, you want to start with 990s?
I certainly can. As a nonprofit, in the eyes of the IRS, of course, everybody has to file taxes. But as a nonprofit, we are able to get by with a modified version. If your income for your club is normally under $50,000 a year, you are able to file a 990N. And that is a simple process of going, you have to create an account with the IRS and make sure it's at the IRS website, because if you get onto some of these other websites, they're going to charge you to file this, and there is no fee to file this form with the IRS. So make sure you're on the IRS website. But It's a simple process. You answer a couple of questions. Is your income normally under 50,000? You answer yes. Is your club still active? You answer yes, and you click the button to file it, and you're done. You need to file this. You should file it every year. And since our year end is September 30th, you have until the 15th day of the 5th month, which, if you know your calendar very well, that's coming up a week from Monday. 15th day of the 5th month is February 15th. So if you do not file the 990N at least once every 3 years, you will lose your tax exempt status. That's something that you don't want to do. If you lose your tax exempt status, to get it back, you have to go through a filing process and you have to pay a fee of $600 to get it back. It's free to get it in the first place, but to get it back, if you lose it, it's $600. So you want to make sure that you get that form filed every year. Most CPAs will help you file it. If you're not comfortable doing it yourself, most CPAs will do that as a public service to service clubs. They'll help you get that accomplished. So don't be afraid to talk to your local CPA if you're not comfortable doing it on your own. But it is really a pretty simple process. So, any questions on the 990?
The 50,000, is that net or gross?
The 50,000 is net of fundraising expenses. So in other words, if you have a fundraiser that you get 20,000, you raise 20,000, but it costs you 5,000 to do that fundraiser, then you would calculate 15,000 towards your 50.
Actually, if I might correct that, I was going through the website today. It is gross, and that includes all of your membership income as well. It's all gross income, 50,000, and then from 50,000 to 200,000, you can file a 990 EZ or just a 990. But if you're managing the books for a key club or manage the books for a scout troop, that is also included in your income if they don't file separately.
My concern is that for our barbecue, we collect all the money and pay our vendors 90 cents on the dollar. And so, you know, we don't make much, but man, we generate a lot. So we go over that 50 fairly often in the growth, but don't even come close otherwise.
Let me do some more research on that, Byron.
Yeah, check, or you can easily check out through the IRS website, or actually if you're in Iowa, if you go to the Secretary of State website, it's just SOSIA. There's on a headline, there's a part on there for IRS, for nonprofits. And it has all the IRS information as well as the state information. And that is a good resource I found as well. Other questions on the 990? I'll get into state taxes for some of you.
Go ahead, Gary.
Okay.
If you haven't done a 990 for, let's say, for example, 5 or 6 years, where do you start? Do you have to go back and get reestablished?
You would have to reestablish your nonprofit status, and that is quite a process. There's quite a few forms that you have to put together to send in with the application. I would, my advice would be to find a CPA to help you with that, or a lawyer. You know, maybe if you got somebody in your club to help you with that. There's quite a bit of information that needs to be accumulated and put together that you need to send in. So,
Yeah, sometimes it's at that point, if you've lost your nonprofit status and it's been quite a while, you might want to look at refiling as a new corporation and start the whole process over again with a slightly varied name and reincorporate. The fees might be a lot less that route as opposed to paying the fines.
Well, Shirley, we're probably not the only club that's never filed a 990 for a while, are we?
no, last fall I worked with one club and we got theirs reestablished. I'm currently helping another club accumulate the documents in order to reestablish theirs.
And Kathy, did you want to say something?
Yes, what I would
Thank you.
recommend is to contact our counselor from Kiwanis International, David Kress, and he has the exact standard operating procedures of exactly what you need to do. First of all, that unless your club has an attorney that knows all of this, but he is very familiar and is aware that many districts will be calling him for help on this. And if you like, actually I'll put his email address in here. Brad Boyd, do not tell him I just did this, but that's what I would recommend is the contact to Kiwanis International Counselor for help.
Last name again, please.
Kress, Kress, David.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, I'll go ahead and touch on state taxes. If you're in Iowa, my understanding is you don't have, if you are registered as a nonprofit, you do not have to pay state taxes, except on gambling. Raffles are included in gambling. Then you would have to pay state taxes. However, if you're fortunate enough to live in Nebraska, you do pay state taxes on all sales items. That include meals and that sort of thing. And in fact, a lot of the cities, you have a separate tax on meals. Lincoln, Nebraska, for example, helps to pay for our new basketball arena using meal charges. So there's an extra charge when we sell pancakes to have to pay that sales tax on there as well as the income tax on that. So you're lucky in Iowa on the sales tax generally. The other thing that needs to be filed, and because this year being 2021 is an odd number year, and that means your biennial filing needs to be submitted to your Secretary of State. And I looked it up on the Secretary of State websites in both Nebraska and Iowa, and you can do a Google search quickly of just SOS space IA for Iowa, and then go on into the corporate and business filings. You can check on the status of your club to see if you are active or inactive. You can also in Iowa electronically file. Very simple. It's no charge at all to file in Iowa. And it's just to make sure you're updating your registered agent, which you might be as treasurer, or perhaps your secretary takes care of this. One of the two of you needs to be that registered agent, typically. It doesn't have to be those two people. The Secretary of State will send out, usually in January, a notice to the registered agent. However, because we have changes in our treasurer or our secretary, a lot of times that notice go to somebody that's nowhere in existence anymore within the club. So check out to see who the registered agent is. Make sure you keep up with that filing as well. That filing is extremely important. It establishes your club, as a corporation, which is required for the IRS filing. Even to establish your EIN number typically goes through the Secretary of State within your state. It's required by the state law in Iowa. It's required in state law in Nebraska for all corporations, nonprofit or profit corporations, to file a biennial report. And so please take care of that. Check with your secretary if you haven't been doing it as a treasurer, and get that taken care of this year. That should be filed between January 1st and April 1st of this year, this odd numbered year for the biennial filing. There are several clubs that have not filed in several years and are listed with their Secretary of State as inactive. Within Iowa, they've been very forgiving. Some clubs have gone ahead now and just made a call to the Secretary of State, asked for the forms to reinstate your club as a nonprofit organization or as a corporation as such. And they've been very helpful in sending the forms. The forms are easy to fill out. They ask for the registered agent. They ask for your club officers, your purpose as an organization to serve youth, and you can get reinstated typically for a $5 fee, maybe as much as $50 fee, but typically very little. Within Nebraska, do we have any treasurers from Nebraska tonight?
Earl.
Looks like
Yes,
we-
I'm here.
Yes, Golden K.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. In Nebraska, you file a biennial report as well, but it's about a $23 fee. If you file electronically, it costs you an extra couple dollars, $25 fee. But that is due again this year, the same as it is in Iowa. And it's a good time to make sure that you have the current registered agent as well as your club officers listed on there, and to make sure your everything is kept up to date on the Secretary of State. If you have not filed for the Secretary of State this biennial report for over 3 years in Nebraska, they charge a bundle, like $500 or $600 fines. And if it's less than 3 years, you can get by with just paying the fees that you haven't paid for the last 3 or 4 years. But past that, they're not forgiving at all, and it can be $500 or $600. Experience what some clubs have taken care of that. We've got about 3 clubs, I think it is now, that 3-4 clubs in Nebraska that have not filed, and it's been more than 5 years. So are there any questions on the filing the biennial report with the Secretary of State?
I just have a comment that if you have a foundation, then you have 2 reports to file.
Correct.
Correct.
Your foundation is a separate organization. It is a 503C3. No, 503C. I'm saying that wrong. 501C3.
Correct.
It is a charitable corporation in that donations can be made to that foundation and being written off by people's taxes. Each club is a 501c4. And there are separate rules and regulations under IRS filings as well as with the state for the 501c4. Each organization, the foundation versus the club, are required to be corporations within their individual state. And the
I would do the
operators,
same thing on your 990s. You have to do one on your foundation also.
That is correct.
that's correct. It is a separate filing, a separate board of directors, separate treasurer, not necessarily, but on the paperwork, they're handled separately.
Just to comment back on the, for Iowa, with the sales tax on gambling, you also have to apply with the state of Iowa for a temporary gambling permit if you're doing raffles, or if you're doing, what do you call it? The 50/50s, where people chip in a buck and a name gets drawn and they get half of it. That's considered gambling underneath the laws of the state of Iowa, and that is subject to a temporary gambling permit if you do it, once a year, whatever. If you do it on a regular basis, then it's very possible that it might be cheaper for you to get a permanent gambling permit. But all those are subject to sales tax under the state of Iowa.
I would say also that in Iowa, if you've ever received a sales tax permit to get a gambling license, is typically why we would get them. You have to file a report every year, even though you have collected no taxes.
Correct, unless it's a temporary one, because that one goes away after your set period. You have to tell them the dates that it's valid, and then it goes away after that time frame. But yes, you are correct. Yes, if with the temporary one, it's for a set time frame. But if that time frame goes over 2 reporting periods, and there's a lot of stuff there, but yes, you have to file 0 returns even if you haven't had any activity.
May I also comment on the sales tax in Iowa?
Sure.
If you are selling anything, our club sells kettle corn. We do pay sales tax on that. We file sales tax on that. However, we can exempt any amounts that we then turn around and donate to a 501c3 organization.
Okay.
So we time our contributions to 501c3s to when we will be popping corn and selling that. So there is sales tax in Iowa that does come into play if you are selling anything.
Okay, I misstated that earlier then. You don't have this state income tax.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to go over, especially since there's so many clubs in Iowa that do not file with the Secretary of State, why it is important to do so. When you were established as a club, you had to set up to get an EIN number, and to get a bank account, you had to file as a corporation. To maintain that account, essentially, you have to stay as a corporation. To certainly maintain yourself as a nonprofit and keep that EIN number, you do. The question some clubs have asked is, why do I need to file with Secretary of State? Well, probably nobody's going to catch you on that until you really need it. If somebody sues you, if you need to file insurance, if you want to collect, let's say, a grant, if you want to do business with government agencies and cooperate and partner, a lot of times they're going to ask for the registration of your corporation within the state. And so there are many places where people will check out to see if they can donate to you, which they can't necessarily. And you need to make sure that when you have solicitations for funds, that you make sure you notify people that you are not a 501c3, that you cannot accept people cannot have write-offs with your organization. Foundations are different. I'm talking about clubs and their 501c4 status. There's a lot of importance to file this form. It's free in Iowa, very little expense in Nebraska. Please do so. Our purpose on bringing these things up, and we do this in treasurer training throughout the year, and I've been involved in that, and I was treasurer for many years in my club in Lincoln. If you keep it up to date and make sure you update a new treasurer if somebody takes over for you. And we talked about succession planning, make sure that person knows what's coming up, and it may not have to be filed the next year. It's only the year after, every other year. So keep everybody informed through the pipeline, and make sure your secretary and your president is informed of these filings that are needed as well.
Great information. Are there any questions over that, or just anything in general? I mean, now is your time. You've got some district leaders in front of you and some international leaders. If there's anything you'd like to ask, go ahead and do that. If you want to take your mic out, raise your hand, put it in chat. Please feel free to let us know what questions you have.
One other item in Iowa, if your club has ever changed their name or added the word "the" or "Inc." to their name over the years, then they probably do not show up on the Secretary of State.
Well,
that's why it's important to know whether or not you've actually been filing your biannual reports. Because if not, if you want to get reinstated, then you're going to have to make sure that you find out the actual name that was originally established.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You can do a search just for Kiwanis, but you need to go. It's Kiwanis Club of Blair. There's the Kiwanis Club of Mason City, or the Kiwanis Club, or Fremont just uses the term Kiwanis Club. And so the search is a little hard to find. You should have papers in your club giving both your official name and the number that's official for the state as well.
Correct.
And if someone has questions on where to access some of these websites, I will make sure I get those from both of the Garys, and we'll get that passed along as well. So I do have one question that was emailed that I will stick out there, and then I'll let either one of you or Governor Kurt chirp in on this. The question came in: we are looking into participating in an upcoming Big Give event in our community. One of the requirements is that the organization be a 501c3. Do you have a suggestion for how to go about this, and have other local clubs ever participated in a Big Give event like this?
Clarify that a little bit. Is it, will they be receiving the funds?
And that was me that asked it.
Okay.
So we have our Keith County Foundation Fund, and they put together a Big Give committee, and they're having a Big Give day in June where everyone in the community can hold fundraisers, and they have a matching program. So where they're going to match up to $40,000. And so I'd love to participate because we hold fundraisers, and I think it would be really great. But how do we go? Who is it? The platform that they're using is requiring it to be 501c3. So is there something that we can do to work around it is the question.
The easiest way to do that is if your club has a foundation, is the money goes to the foundation, and then they, under their bylaws, are able to help the club. That's the easiest way. If you have another foundation that will work with you,
Motion detected at your front door. Sorry.
that is another option. The club, as Gary mentioned, the club itself is not a 501c3.
Okay, so I imagine I'd have to ask the foundation fund that's initiating it if they would take it and if they would grant it to us, basically. Ugh.
Correct.
Ugh.
Correct.
Okay. There's okay. Thank you.
You also, if you work closely with some other organizations you contribute to or help, and you would like some of those funds to go to those organizations. In Lincoln, we do a lot of work. We have our own foundation, but we also work closely with the Children's Museum, the Scouts, the Children's Zoo. And so we have a lot of our club money go directly to those, or even the school alumni association. A lot of money can go to them that can then be filtered out to your project working with an individual school. There's a lot of different ways of other foundations that you might already partner with.
That's absolutely wonderful. That actually answers my question, because I could go through like the Oklahoma Public School District or Foundation. Yep. Because we donate books to them. And so, okay, awesome. Thank you. I love it. Yay.
Other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm first time on Zoom, so I'm not sure. I didn't know how to mute myself or anything. So the question is this. We haven't been meeting since, well, for all of this administrative year because of the COVID thing. I've had at least one member ask me, how come we're being asked to pass dues or pay dues if we're not meeting? Well, my answer was we still have to pay dues to International and the district, so we have to collect dues. Has anybody else done it differently or?
I'm not aware of anybody. Speak up. That's a good
I'm not aware of
question.
anybody either, so.
Nope.
And everybody's pretty much, sending out their dues, billings as normal.
Yep.
Well,
And
do the dues
I know
have
in our
anything
case,
to
in
do
our
with the
club,
meeting?
we have meals involved and we still bill for the meals, whether we're having the meals or not. We just redirect those funds to some other project.
Yep. Yep.
Russell, just tell them it's an investment in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your answer is correct, Russ. Yes, in order to remain a club, you need to pay dues to Kiwanis International. In order to have your projects covered, you need to make sure that you're paying your insurance to Kiwanis International. So the club has expenses, so therefore you need to collect dues.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Other questions? And I see there's some things going on in chat. I think most of those questions have been answered, but if there's anything else, we can certainly address it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there have been some breaks given for new members in order to encourage membership. And so that's one possible break in Kiwanis. Currently, that's not happening right now, though.
Right. John Green, did you have something you wanted to say?
Has there been any discussion at the district or international level about reducing dues?
Not that I'm aware of. Kathy, you can correct me, but there has been no discussion of reducing dues. They did do the waiver on the new member ad fees. And the last I heard was that the finance committee at the international level was indicating that they were going to move away from that. So, Kathy, do you have any?
Just keep in mind, for those of you who are not aware of this, that come October 1st, we're going to prorate it so that $50, whether you join today or whether you join in August, will be going away. So that certainly helps us bring in new members, because I don't know about you, but it's really hard to sell somebody to join a club in August, knowing, that they have to pay that $50. So that is going away come October 1st. Now, whether we will waive or reduce the fees during the fourth quarter of this year is still to be decided. It just depends, because, we don't know. The unknown is still out there, but I do know it is something that we are researching and looking into.
Right. Well, I think those are some great discussions. If there's anything else, if there's not anything else, what I'd like to do right now is send us into some smaller breakout sessions. We'll probably take about 9-10 minutes here, and this is kind of the chance for you all to have smaller discussions. We've got some great big group discussions, but I'd like you to be able to do some club sharing too and bounce some ideas off of each other. So what's going to happen is I'm going to send you an invite to go into a breakout room with about 9 other people we have on tonight. So when you get this invite from me, I'm going to ask you to accept it, and then we'll have some smaller group discussions. Okay, Chris, do you have an invite to go into a breakout room? If you could accept that for me, please. We'll get you sent into a smaller group discussion. Thank you. We are going to end the recording right now for the club leadership chat. When the group comes back, we'll just have a few final announcements. Those announcements will include some upcoming dates in the district. February 23rd, I'd like everyone to be aware of, we're going to have our virtual mid-year presentation. Since we do not have a mid-year conference this year, what we will be doing is announcing those awards virtually. The district newsletter will be sent out this week. We'll have that connection. It's going to be live streamed on the Nebraska-Iowa District YouTube channel. And so we'll make that live stream link available to everybody. The other date we're going to ask you to have on your calendar is August 6th and 7th. That will be our annual district convention. We are planning that right now to be a hybrid situation for in-person as well as virtual events. So please keep watching email and different communication sources for more information on that. We really appreciate you being a leader in your clubs and in your community, and thank you so much for your service and for your time watching this evening. If you have any questions, please contact me at the district office or any of your representatives at the division or regional level. Thank you.